Hi everybody, so in this video we're going to look at setting up a Microsoft project. So once you open up the application you're going to meet a screen looking something like this. So here we have kind of standard templates which you can use. So there's residential construction projects, software development plans, whatever you need. But we're going to be working on a blank project, so you can double click the blank project. You should be the first one at the top. And from here you're going to be brought into the Microsoft project user interface. So it's a standard one, similar if you've seen any other Windows projects or any other Windows software, I should say. We have our ribbon along the top, we have our menus along here, we have a file and our save button up here. So standard, nothing too much. On this side here we have where we're going to kind of put in all the information in our tasks that have to be carried out. And on this side here, this is actually where we're going to see the graphical interface, the graphical kind of chart we're going to use. So it's called a Gantt chart. So this whole view is actually going to be a Gantt chart. So we have our tasks along here, and all these tasks then will be kind of put in here, and the durations will show up here and be able to see everything, how it's going to look like. So we'll see this a little bit more later on. So, again, as we were saying here, these are where your tasks are going to go in this column here. So tasks are also called activities. So they represent the work that needs to be done to complete a project. We also then have along the top, we have another tab here called resources. So just to say we have a task tab. So this is all the information we're going to be editing tasks and adding tasks later on. We're going to be using this information here. If you click onto the next tab along the top, we'll see resources. So resources are people, equipment, materials needed to complete the tasks. So in MS Project, we actually assign resources to tasks to calculate the project schedule and the costs. So just go back to tasks here. So most tasks are linked, meaning that some tasks can't start until the previous one is finished. So top of the project shows along the top here, we'll see project 1. So this just means when you open up a new project, it's going to just by default, it's going to give us a generic name. So because it's the first project you're going to use, it's probably going to be called project 1. So we're going to save it now later on just to make it more useful, because if you have everything that's called project 1, project 2 is not the clearest. Again, when you're even submitting assignments, it's always better to save it. So we can do that now straight away. So if we click into the file and then go to save as, and again, best thing to do is you save it in your documents folder on your computer so you know where it is, so you can create a new folder. So I'm going to click into my documents here, and I'm going to we want to save it in a way so it makes it easy to find. So it's going to be last name, first name. So it's going to be your last name, obviously, underscore first name, underscore MSP1. So it's Microsoft Project 1. So that's what we're going to call this blank project to get started. And you can save that into your own little folder. I'm actually using my student account for this one, so this should look similar enough to you guys. Click save, and then you'll see along the top the project 1 should change to last name first name dot MSP1. So now we have a bit more useful name. So if when you're going along the project, it's always good to click save. There should be a kind of a backup when you're working through it, but it's always good to click save. So you can click the save little icon up here just to save it every so often, or press Control S on the keyboard. Either way, just make sure you save it. That's all I can say. So now we've got the basic project going. So we're going to add some information. So we're going to click on the project tab. So again, along the top here, there's a tab project. So we're going to give this a click, and then we want to click on project information. So here we are. And a little dialog box should show up. Another click, there we go. Perfect. So now the new dialog shows up. This shows the project start date. So by default, it actually sets up whatever today is. So I'm doing this on Friday, 5th of February, 2021. So that's obviously the date that's coming up. Obviously, this is not our project start date. So for this example, we can actually set the project start date. We're going to set it to the 12th of April, 2021. So just find the 12th of April. It's Monday, 12th of April. Give that a click. Now you can see there's all the other information here. We don't need to touch anything else at the moment. We're going to look at calendar now in a while, but everything else here is going to stay the same. So you just click OK. And there we go. Now one thing we just double check again, we might get cut out. So when you click onto the file tab along the top and then go down to options, and we just want to make sure we're going to be setting the right currency. So there's all these different options. We're going to go back and forth to these now when we're setting things up. So we'll just go down to display. And yeah, so by default, it's set to Great British Pounds. So when I click in the currency, we're going to set this to Euro, because obviously we use Euros. So find Euro on the link, on the little drop down menu, I should say. There we go, and click OK. So now when we're going to put in costs later on, they'll all show up in Euro. So just make things a bit more relevant to what we're doing. So the next thing we're going to look at is we're going to define the calendar. So I don't know if you saw in the project information, we'll just click back in quickly. So we'll see there's actually a calendar here. So we have a standard calendar, but that's kind of by default. It's actually used as a standard calendar, but we can actually, if you want to actually, if our calendar is going to be something unique, we can actually create our own calendar. So, but the way we can actually do this is in the project tab again, which I'm already on. We're going to go to the properties section, which is this one here, and we're going to click on the icon for change working time. So you'll see here it says the for calendar. So that's just telling what calendar we're actually going to be using in this project. So in this one, we're using the default standard project calendar. So that's, you can see on the side here, if you click into one of these different days, you see all the dates. It works from 8 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock till 12 o'clock in the day, then an hour for lunch, and then from 1 to 5. That's the standard calendar. So, you can see that's why it's called standard. That's why it's actually by default, it's the one that's set up. If we click on the work weeks tab, so down the bottom here we see work weeks, then what we can do, we can just, by default in our calendar we have it Monday to Friday, starting off on Monday. Some people actually have the calendar set up where Sunday is the first day, and it just depends which way you like it. So this is the way it's set up for mine, that's the way I prefer it myself, to be honest. But obviously Monday to Friday is our work days, Saturday and Sunday are your days off, so they're kind of grayed out. There's a little legend here, you can see what they are. And again, when you click onto a different day, if you've actually got certain days, you can actually set to have work different type of times. So say on our project doesn't start for a while, for example, but say if you clicked on one of the days and you wanted to change the working times, you could click in here into your details, and then you can start changing around the times, just playing around the options here. So start an hour early, start half an hour early, whatever you want to do. For the moment, we're just going to leave this for default, but it's just good to know here because later on in another exercise, we're going to be working on changing the times here. So just click cancel out of this. And what else are we going to do now? So yeah, that's the calendar. So we'll leave it all for default now. But what we will do, actually, we can add some exceptions. So what exceptions are, these are holidays where the project isn't going to be going ahead. So, like things like bank holidays and other public holidays would be built into the calendar if you install those extras. So we know, obviously, on bank holiday Mondays, there's going to be no work to be done. But you can also add in extra calendar day, extra holidays that if they're not by default in there. So, for example, I had to kind of think of some random holidays just to put into here. So I found the most random ones on the internet I could find. So in the exceptions tab, just click on the exceptions, and in the name tab here, just click in here, and I'm going to call the first one, take your dog to work day. And apparently, if you click on the start, that is on the 25th of June. So obviously, there's going to be no work then because it's going to be place going to be full of dogs. Obviously, this is just for examples. The next one, we'll just stick another holiday in. So anyone's ever watched Father Ted will know that July 19th is a very famous day because apparently that is the day the Ice Age ended. So we can put that in and then click the date. And that was the 19th of July. And where are we going to go? 19th of July. So straightforward enough. So now these two dates are actually going to show up on our calendar as days that aren't going to be working. So, you can take a day off when you're taking your dog to work, and the day the Ice Age ends, you can take a day off. So, it's a useful thing if you want to put in extra holidays where you're not going to be working. So, just for an example, let's say put another one in yourselves. You can put in your birthday. So, click in there, type it in my birthday and pick your date and just click OK. So you should have 3 little examples there. But again, and then Microsoft Project knows when it's planning out the calendar, it knows that it won't be working on those days. So, it's just a useful thing to have. So when you're planning things, just that, you're getting the most efficient use of time. And there's one more thing. Since I've added my extra holidays there, so I'll just click OK. So in there, we saw that you can actually edit the workday. So by default, it was going from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock, an hour for lunch, and then from 1 to 5. But if you do make changes there on your calendar on your working hours, you then have to go back to the file and go to the options out here. And then in the schedule, there's actually another option here for your work days. So you can see that's the project calendar. The project this calendar is going to be used for is the one we just set up. So last name, first name. So if you change anything on the calendar that we set up there a second ago in the change working time option, you then need to go back in here into the option in the Microsoft Project options and just make sure you do the same changes here. So it'll just make things work a little bit better, Okay, so we'll click OK for that one. And that's the basics for getting started. So the next one we're going to look at is going to be, we're going to look at the story notes. So we're going to look at creating and modifying tasks now in the next one. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video.